2023 is shaping up to be a mammoth year of the reread. Welcome to Matt on Books, where I talk about fantasy mostly, science fiction sometimes, and comics occasionally. I'm Matt, obviously. 2023 is looking like a primarily reread year for me. I've talked about it before. I did a TBR video about books I would like to reread. And ever since then, I've just been thinking, damn, some of those I really, really want to reread. I really want to reread them. To me, it's the highest praise I can give a book that I would like to reread it. And some of the books I've read, certainly not many, but I've read a lot of books. So there's a certain chunk of books where I think I will get more out of it when I reread it. I am going through the Malaz Everything Read, where I reread the Malazan Book of the Fallen. And I've been doing that since I started my channel in August. That will obviously continue, but it's been a really excellent experience. Malazan especially, it's complicated, it's deep. The world has so many mysteries and so many things going on. And I've been getting so much more out of it now that I'm rereading it. So I decided next year, the primary TBR that I will be following is a reread TBR. So what are my big reread plans? Everybody by now on booktube has heard about the A Song of Ice and Fire read-along. It's being planned by Joanna Zuza, Scott, Alex, other people. They're all hosting different things. I'm joining that. It's a reread for me. I just, in the last week, read Fire and Blood and Knight of the Seven Kingdoms to get into the Westeros mood, and I'm so looking forward to it. I think I've mentioned it in every video for about 2 or 3 weeks, so you probably know this by now. But Song of Ice and Fire is a big one. If you saw my recent video, my unboxing with a sword, and you watched until the end, you've already been invited to join me for a Realm of the Elderlings reread for me. Read along for anybody that wants to read it or reread it. That's a 16-book series. That's going to take me, if I really manage to do one a month, that's going to take me until April, I think, in 2024. So that will be a constant companion on the channel for a while. And then I've got my ongoing Malazan reread up until I finish Malazan Book of the Fallen. And then I'm going to be reading all of the other Malazan books. So the plan is, instead of the way I've been doing it, which is Malazan something else, etc., I'm going to do, for those 3 series, I'm going to do 1 book a month. So 1 Malazan book, 1 from A Song of Ice and Fire, and 1 from Realm of the Elderlings. That is enough for the first 5 months of the year, because that's how long A Song of Ice and Fire is. All of those books are pretty chunky. And just when I imagine doing a 900-page Malazan book and a 900-page Realm of the Elderlings book and a 900-page Song of Ice and Fire book, that will probably keep me busy enough for the 5 months it'll take to finish A Song of Ice and Fire. Where I can, after I've done those 3, I'll fit in other things. But after those, maybe in between, I've also got some buddy read plans for next year. A lot of these things have come up very spontaneously. During chats when I did the Dear Dr. Fantasy with Philip Chase, we agreed that we're going to do a buddy read of The Book of the New Sun by Gene Wolfe. I've read it. I don't think he has yet, but I'm so looking forward to doing that with him, because I know that he will get things that I would not otherwise have noticed, or understand themes that I might not have picked up on, or whatever. Whereas I've read it already, so maybe I have a little leg up on him in that respect. So we're definitely going to do Book of the New Sun together, at least the first book, And we said early next year. I don't know what early means yet. We haven't scheduled anything. And just today, Patrick Leo said he wants to read it and he would be interested in reading it with us. So maybe it'll be a 3-person buddy read, depending on the timing. We'll see how it goes. And I want to do some live discussion videos with at least Philip and maybe others on those books, because they're pretty damn cool and very deep and complex. Tori, this was also a result of a chat. We had Friends on Books number 2. Tori was on that from Tori Talks. As usual, all links for other people's channels down in the description. Tori and I, she's working on some novels. She's a writer, and she's working on some novels, and she's interested in military fantasy. So we agreed to buddy read 2 things. One is The Things They Carried, which I believe Philip Chase recommended to me. It's not fantasy at all. It's a bunch of short stories written by a guy who was actually in Vietnam, and it's about the soldier's life in Vietnam. So we're going to read, Tori and I are going to read The Things They Carried together, and then we're going to read the first novel in The Black Company by Glenn Cook, which is a reread for me, first time for her. And then we're going to discuss The Things They Carried in a live chat with Philip Chase, and we're going to discuss The Black Company with Alan from the Library of Alexandria when he's feeling good enough for it. If you haven't heard, he was in a pretty serious car accident. He's okay, but he is recovering, and that may take a while. We'll see. Best wishes, Alan, for a speedy recovery. We need your kind of ranty opinions on BookTube. Speaking of Alan, if Alan has been bothering people to read anything pretty much forever, it's been The Long Price Quartet. I finally listened to him, and then I was reminded that a long time ago, I think it might have also been in that Friends on Books number 2, Joanna and I had agreed to do a buddy read of Long Price Quartet. So first of all, there was that, and then it was my birthday last week, and Joanna actually sent me the first book of the Long Price Quartet for my birthday. Thank you so much, Joanna. This is the first time anyone has sent me something purely as a gift. Not an author sending me a book because they want a review, but just a BookTube friend sent me something, and that's exciting in itself, and it was a birthday present. Thank you so much, Joanna. The stupid thing was, I had already ordered this, which is a combination of the first 2 books in one volume, and it was going to take a really long time to get there. So Joanna's gift arrived, which is just the first book, and then a few days later, this arrived. So I will be returning Joanna's gift and getting something else for it, but it was an amazing, amazing gift nonetheless. Thank you. And again, it seems like I'm only doing things with Joanna and Tori, also Philip. Tori is doing a 12 books recommended by 12 friends challenge kind of thing, and she asked me to recommend a book. And I said, her being relatively young and not that broadly read in what I consider classic fantasy, I said, read Swords and Deviltry, the first book in the Lankmar. It's not really a series. They're all kind of connected. They have the same main characters, but they are formative, extremely influential books written by Fritz Leiber. Those books, for example, if you play D&D, I know Jordan reads. Jordan plays D&D. Theo plays D&D. If you play D&D, the thief class in the very first D&D was based on a character that Fritz Leiber wrote called the Grey Mouser. The Lankmar books are rollicking fun, probably up there as far as buddies go. Some of the best buddies in fantasy. Locke and Jean are pretty awesome buddies. Kalam and Quickben, pretty awesome buddies. But Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser. Fafhrd is a very smart barbarian. He's less sweaty and grunty than Conan is. He's actually a pretty cultured barbarian. And the Grey Mouser, who is a thief and sneaky person, and they are pretty much inseparable, but they give each other shit constantly too, which makes them a very believable male friendship. So yeah, I told Tori she should read that for her challenge, and then suggested, why don't we do a buddy read? Because I would like to reread those books. It's been a very long time since I read them. So at some point, I'm not sure exactly when, we will read at least the first book of Lankmar, or the first book in the series, Swords and Deviltry, together. That will be fun. The best bit of the roughly 6 months that I've been on BookTube has been meeting people and having live chats with people especially. And I plan next year to do at least once a month a Friends on Books. That may or may not continue to be me and 3 people, but there's a pretty long list of people I'd like to do it with. I'm right now scheduling, hopefully in January, to talk about The Realm of the Elderlings, with Derry and Evie and Madison. In February, at the beginning of February, I'm going to be talking about A Song of Ice and Fire with Mike and Steve from Steve Talks Books and Scott, the Bald Booktuber. Beyond that, I haven't planned it yet, but I'm definitely going to keep doing the Friends on Books because it's been a blast. There are no doubt many other things that I will read next year, but I'm leaving because I have a pretty big plan already. I know that once every month I've got a Malazan book, and then I've got a Song of Ice and Fire book for the first 5 months, and then I've got a Realm of Elderlings book every month all year. I'm not really planning anything else. I'm keeping it kind of relaxed and seeing what fits in where. If you look behind me, the bottom shelf here is my TBR shelf. Those are books I've actually physically bought that I have not read yet at all. I've also got a number of things further up that I would be interested in rereading. So it may not be a completely reread year. These Long Price Quartet, 4 books, not so chunky, but 4 books that are definitely new reads for me. I'm really looking forward to it. And looking forward to reading those with Joanna and maybe chatting live with her and Alan, who else? But I will just slot in other things as I can. The way I'm thinking about doing reviews, I think I've said this before, but I don't necessarily see that much of a point of a review of a 5th book in a series, or even maybe the 2nd. If you've read the first book and you like it, you're probably going to read the 2nd no matter what I say. Unless I say, oh my God, the first was great and the 2nd was horrible, but that rarely happens. So I'm thinking for Realm of the Elderlings, I would like to do the first book in every sub-series. So the first book in the first trilogy and the first book in the second trilogy, and then maybe a wrap-up of that sub-series. Same thing for Malazan. Malazan is such a big thing, especially once I get past Malazan Book of the Fallen. I don't think anyone's going to be interested in anything I have to say about a book that you're not going to read until you've read Malazan Book of the Fallen. But I want to do more thematic videos. I've got one I'm kind of working on thinking about called Death and Rebirth in Malazan Book of the Fallen, and other ideas. Soon I've got a video coming out, my favorite characters in the first 3 books of Malazan Book of the Fallen. A Song of Ice and Fire, there's going to be so much A Song of Ice and Fire content going around. I will do some reviews and some thoughts and maybe some theme-related things. So there's going to be more than enough material for videos next year. I'm really looking forward to it. So as always, I hope you're doing well. Keep reading awesome books, and I will see you next time.